What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's CJ for Out of Bounds DFS, and in today's video we're going to be looking at some of the single stat player props for the NBA slate tonight. We've got just 4 games, kind of a small slate, but we're going to go over a few of the props that are standing out to me in the early stages of the slate. Now, if you're playing on PrizePicks or if you're just a sports bettor and you're looking for some good NBA player props, then this is a video that you'll definitely want to watch, so stay tuned. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome to Out of Bounds DFS. I'm glad you're aboard. I'm glad you're tuning in. On this channel, we talk all things single player daily fantasy sports. We also dabble in some prop picks like we're going to do in today's video. Right now, our primary focus is PrizePicks and NBA. So if you're into that sort of thing, hit the subscribe button for me. Turn on notifications. There's about 45% of you out there that are watching these videos on a daily basis that haven't subscribed yet. If you could just hit the subscribe button or double check to make sure that you're subscribed, it would help me out immensely. We have surpassed 750 subscribers. My goal is going to be 800 or so for the month of April. I think we could get to about 850, and it's going to start with you guys. So I appreciate your support. And I appreciate you rocking with me. So without further ado, we're going to start by taking a look at some of the NBA player news, which is going to be like injury focused. So as you can see here, the first name on the board is Clint Capella. Apparently he's going to be available to play tonight for the Atlanta Hawks. Danilo Gallinari is now also available for the Atlanta Hawks, so he should be suiting up tonight for them. It looks like Zach LaVine, unfortunately, has aggravated an ankle injury, so Chicago Bulls just acquired my former big man Nikola Jokic in a trade. Well, now it looks like Zach LaVine might be out and miss some time here with an ankle injury, so unfortunate for them. DeAndre Hunter for the Atlanta Hawks is going to be a 60 to 70% chance of playing. Bogdan Bogdanovic is available for the Hawks. It sounds like the Hawks are going to have most of their weapons. Lauri Markkanen is going to come off the Bulls bench on Monday versus the Warriors. Well, that was, last night? So that's going to do it for the news, I guess, for today. Just a few stories to touch on at this time. And it's about 2 p.m. here on the East Coast. So if this is if you're watching this video rather, and you just have to keep in mind that the projections and everything, the stats and all that stuff are subject to change. They always change on PrizePicks and on these various sports book websites and stuff like that. But anyway, let's get down to business here. As I mentioned, I've got some single stat point props, some assist props, some rebound props, and even a 3-point prop that I want to talk about today. So the first person that is on my list is going to be Nikola Jokic. The Denver Nuggets are taking on the Philadelphia 76ers tonight. The implied total for this game is 221 points, so pretty good total there. It looks like Denver is currently about a 5-point favorite in this one, so they're expected to win this game. I'm not afraid of this spread, though. 5 points isn't enough for me to fade anybody or avoid playing anybody in this game. I think it stays close. I think it stays competitive for the most part here. So let's go over to PrizePicks, and we've got Nikola Jokic up here. That game tips off at 9:10 p.m. against Philly. Of course, we know Joel Embiid is still out for the 76ers, so who is going to stand in Nikola Jokic's way? And, you know, the reason I like Nikola Jokic at 23.5 points to go over is because I don't think there's anybody that's going to stand in his way. So let's start things off here by looking at his projections. And for this, we're using numberfire.com. Of course, they have free projections you can go take a look at there. We're looking specifically at points, and he's projected at 23.9 points, so almost 24 points. Now, if he hits 24 points and we want to take the over on 23.5, well, that means that we've just made some money. So the over looking pretty good here for Nikola Jokic. Now, the next site we're going to look at is the Plain Jane, NBA.com. Now, believe it or not, they've got a pretty robust stat system here on NBA.com. So if you go NBA.com/players, you could use the search players feature here. And we're going to do a search for Nikola Jokic. And there you see his name. We're going to control click on his name so that we can keep that window open while opening up a new tab. And then you could see his season averages are right here across the top. So for points, he is averaging 26.9 points per game, almost 27 points per game. So that's quite a bit higher than 23.5, right? So far, I'm liking the over on Nikola Jokic. Now, we do have to keep in mind that they've added a new guy to the mix, and that new guy is Aaron Gordon, former Orlando Magic player. So Orlando, they pretty much cleaned house. They got rid of Vucevic, Gordon, Fournier, if you haven't heard. Having Aaron Gordon in the mix in Denver, that could shake things up a little bit here. So I can understand why you might be hesitant on clicking Nikola Jokic and the over on 23.5 points. But hopefully, after you're done watching this video, you'll feel a little more confident in the over. But let's just take a look and see. So one thing that we could do here with NBA.com that I really like is we can change the season segment. So it's currently set to all games, which would be the season averages, but we don't want to see the season averages. What we want to see is, let's say, the last 15 games and see how Nikola Jokic has been scoring there. So we will click 15 games, we will click run it, and as you can see, over his last 15 games, he scored 26.7 points. So that's still over 23.5. I'm still liking the over here. Now we could change this and go from 15 to 10, let's say. We click run again, and 26.2 comes up. Still quite a bit higher than 23.5. So far, so good, right? We're liking Jokic over here. And then finally, we'll run a 5-game report. And you can see on 5 games, his last 5, 26 points per game. So he's been going over 23.5 points with pretty regular results here. So I'm liking the way that that's stacking up. Now, last but not least, we're going to head on over to rotowire.com. And why I like RotoWire is because they have all these different sports betting sites out there. They do a little side-by-side so you can see, site by site, which props are hitting, which ones aren't. In other words, how people are betting and so on and so forth. Now, we've got Nikola Jokic right here up at the top, nice and easy peasy for us. You can see that on DraftKings Sportsbook at 23.5 points. You're not seeing really any movement one way or the other. The lines are not moving so far. No juice under, no juice over. All right, FanDuel Sportsbook, however, they got him at 24.5. Now on 24.5, people seem to be hitting the under on 24.5, meaning they think he's going to score 24 or less points. Now, good news for us, if he scores 24 points, well, that's more than 23.5, right? And that would get us paid. So I'm liking the way that that is shaping up. Now, if we go over to BetMGM, they've got him at 23.5, just like PrizePicks. Now, on 23.5, they are taking the under on 23.5, meaning they don't think that he's going to score more than 23.5 points, so 24 or more. They think he's going to score 23 points or less. So the final site we look at is PointsBet, and as you can see on 23.5, they are taking the over on the 23.5 there. So I would say that 3 out of these 4 sites look favorable for us to click the over on Nikola Jokic in this 23.5 point prop. Liking the matchup, liking the total, and I'm liking the spread. I think this one is a game where Nikola Jokic can kind of get back on track here. All right, so with him in the books, we can talk the other side of this game. My next prop is going to be Ben Simmons, and I'm kind of leaning toward taking the under on Ben Simmons at 17.5 points against this Denver Nuggets team. Now, Ben Simmons, not known to be a prolific scorer or anything like that. We know that. It's going to be the Tobias Harris show, maybe even some Seth Curry sprinkled in there, and some Danny Green hitting those corner threes like he likes to do. But we're going to look at Ben Simmons now and see how things are shaping up for the Aussie. So let's move on down here and see if we can find him. There he is. So on his 17.5 point prop, I've got him at 16.9 according to the fine folks at NumberFire. Of course, we've already talked about the totals and spread looking pretty darn good for this game here. So I like the way things are shaping up for Ben Simmons. So we're going to head back to NBA.com/players, and we're going to type in Simmons. And there you have Ben Simmons. He comes right up. So if we control click on his name, it opens up a new tab for us, and you can see that his season average for scoring is 15.9 points, which puts him under 17.5. Now, granted, a lot of those games in that season average are with Joel Embiid, who is not in the lineup, but we're going to look at some of the other 15-game, 10-game, and 5-game averages to get a better feel for how Ben Simmons has been scoring without Embiid around. And that will help us paint a clearer picture of what we can expect possibly here from Ben Simmons. So again, we'll start things off by looking at his 15-game averages. And in 15 games, he's played in 12 of them. And in those 12 games, he's averaging 16.2 points, which puts him under 17.5. So I'm liking the under still here with that first result. Now let's run a report on his last 10 games. On his last 10 games, he's played in 7 of them, 15 points per game. So that's still quite a bit under 17.5, right? So far, so good. Now let's look at his last 5 games here. And you can see in his last 5, he's at 15.5. So it bounces up just a little bit from the 10-game to the 5-game average, but still 2 points under 17.5 points, guys. It's shaping up to look pretty darn good if you ask me. But we're not going to stop there. We're going to head back over to RotoWire real quick, and we're going to put in Ben Simmons' name. And we're going to see if taking the over the under on Ben Simmons makes any sense here. Looking for them. Maybe it would be easier if I just sorted it by team. All right, there we go. Ben Simmons, 17.5 over on DraftKings Sportsbook. You can see people are clicking the under on the 17.5. So far, so good for us. 17.5 on FanDuel. The under looking like the way to go there. BetMGM, they're kind of at a standstill here. 17.5, you're not really seeing any action. No movement over or under for that 17.5 on BetMGM. But finally, PointsBet. They are taking the under on 17.5 points there, more than they are taking the over. So again, things are looking good here for a Ben Simmons under 17.5 points. I like it. I really, really like it. All right, so with the points in the books, let's talk some assists. And we got a couple of guys here. Both of them happen to be Denver Nuggets. And the first guy we're going to mention is Jamal Bubble Murray. So Jamal Murray's at 4.5 assists. As we mentioned, he's taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm leaning toward the over on Jamal Murray. So we're going to do a little digging around on Jamal Murray here and see if the over on that 4.5 assist mark, meaning he's going to have to get at least 5 assists or more, makes any sense today. All right, so we're heading back on over here to Number Fire, and we can do a search here for Murray just to make things a little quicker. Where's he at? Oh, there he is. Cool. So his assists today are set at 4.8, which puts him as a slight over on 4.5 assists. So hopefully he lands on 5. That would be ideal for us, would be fantastic. Let's take a look and see how he's been distributing the basketball here in his recent games. So we type in Murray. We click on Jamal Murray. He's the Murray we're talking about today. And you can see that with the 4.5 assists, for the season, he's been going over with 4.9 assists. So more often than not, he's up there around 5 assists than he is at 4 assists. So that's what we're liking. So far, so good here. Let's go ahead and click on his stats. We'll click on this little traditional splits link. And advanced filters, change the season segment from full season to 15 games so we can get an idea of that 15-game picture. And you can see in his last 15 games on assist, 5.7, which puts him well over 4.5. So I'm liking the way things are looking so far here. Now let's look at his last 10. For the last 10 games, 6.1 assists. So actually over 6 assists. Fantastic number for us if we're looking to hit that over. And finally, his last 5 games, 6.6 assists. So his assists seem to be trending in the right direction when you look at the 15 versus the 10 versus the 5-game segments. So loving the over here for Jamal Murray. As I mentioned, totals are good. Spread is looking A-okay as well. So we're going back to RotoWire, and we're going to go down to the bottom here, and there's a little handy-dandy toolbar across the bottom. You just click the assist category, and it puts you in the right place. Love that. So on DraftKings Sportsbook, they've got him at 4.5 assists. On 4.5 assists, people are actually taking the under more than they're taking the over. So that's not a good sign. But FanDuel, it changes things for us. 4.5 there. They're taking the over more than the under. And on BetMGM, over more than the under. And finally, PointsBet, it's kind of a deadlock here at 115 on the over and the under. So not really seeing any juice one way or the other. But overall, all in all, I like the way that his assists are trending up. He's kind of taken more of the scoring load has kind of been transferred over to Michael Porter Jr. Now, this was before Aaron Gordon came aboard, but I've noticed that Jamal Murray's not scoring as much. He's being more of a traditional point guard, distributing to his teammates, and that Michael Porter Jr. is taking on more of that scoring load. Will Barton as well, and I expect Aaron Gordon to chip in his fair share of points. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jamal Murray takes on more of that pass-first point guard role. All right, so with Jamal Murray all wrapped up, we're liking the over there. We're going to talk his teammate here, Will Barton. Again, taking on Philly, tipping off at 9:10 p.m. He's at 2.5 assists. So at that 2.5 assist number, let's go see if he is projected over or under. I'm liking the over, and this is why. Because Number Fire's got him at 3.3 projected assists. So if maybe he doesn't need 3.3, he just needs 3, right? So the fact that there's even a little bit on top of that 3 makes me feel even better. If this guy can get 3 assists, we're in the money. So at 2.5 assists, we're going to look at how he's been performing in his 15, 10, and 5 game totals. So real simple here. We just type his name in. We control click on his name, and here we have it. For the season, he is dropping 3 dimes per game on average, which is more than enough if we're wanting to take the over, right? So far, so good. Great start on the over for Will Barton. Now, let's look at the traditional splits once again, which basically just allows us to get to this advanced filters feature and sort this out so we could check out his 15 game averages. All right, and for his last 15 games, his assists are just slightly below 3, but they're closer to 3 than they are 2, so that makes me feel a little better. Now, 2.9 assists is more than 2.5, so still the over, I would say, is definitely in play. Let's change it to last 10 games, and for the last 10 games, we're still at 2.9 assists, and finally, last 5 games, the assists actually drop a little bit. They go down to 2.2 assists. So that's closer to 2, and that's also under 2.5. So that's a little scary, a little shaky. I don't know. Let's finally go and look at the various sportsbook sites and see how the Will Barton 2.5 assists is shaping up over there. So on DraftKings, you can see people are taking the over. He's a minus 118 over there. FanDuel, he's a minus 122 on the over. On BetMGM, he's a minus 128 on the over. So all 3 sports betting sites that are up and have a Will Barton assist prop, they're all taking the over on 2.5 assists. So that's the way I'm leaning. I'm probably sticking to my guns here and hoping that the over's the way to go on Will Barton. All right, with the assists in the books, we can move on to rebounds. And we're going to stay in Denver here. We've actually got 2 Denver Nuggets that we're going to talk about. Michael Porter Jr. is the first one, and he's projected for 7.5 rebounds today over on PrizePicks. So we're going to start with him. As you can see, 7.5. We'll get down to Aaron Gordon. He'll be the next Denver Nugget we talk about. But Michael Porter Jr., let's go ahead and highlight the rebounds column, and we could type in his name here and go find this guy. And you can see that on the 7.5 rebound prop, he is also projected for 7.5 over on RotoWire. Now, of course, there's no such thing as 7.5 rebounds. It's either 7 or it's 8. So hopefully we get some clarification on if this guy can go over or under for us tonight. So we head back to NBA.com. We're going to type in Porter, and lots of Porters come up. In fact, lots of Porter Juniors in the NBA, funny enough. So we're going to click on Michael Porter Jr., who for the season is rebounding the basketball at a 7.4 rebound per game clip. Now that is under his projection tonight of 7.5, which means he's more likely to lean towards 7 rebounds than he is leaning toward 8 rebounds. So far the over's looking a little questionable. We're going to click his stats, move on down the line, and take a peek at these traditional splits. We clicked advanced filters, Now you could do so much more with this tool. I'm just keeping it real simple and short and sweet for this video, but there's all kind of filters that you can apply here. You could look at what Michael Porter Jr.'s done in his last 3 games if you want to. You could look at how he rebounds on the road versus at home. I mean, you could do all kind of weird stuff. It's a pretty great tool, and it's all free on NBA.com. But first and foremost, we're going to look at the last 15 games and how he's rebounded the basketball. And you can see that his total rebounds are at 9.1, a pretty healthy over versus the 7.5 projection he's at the moment on PrizePicks. So we're going to flip this down to the 10-game averages and see how he's been doing. And you can see his rebounds drop a bit. They go down to 8.3, but 8.3 is still more than 7.5. If he lands on 8, we are good to go. But we're not going to stop there. We're going to look at his last 5 games as well. And in his last 5, his rebounds continue to trend in the wrong direction. They continue to go down. He is now under 8 rebounds. So you could see that 15 versus 10 versus 5, his rebounds are going, and they might continue to go down, quite truthfully, because Aaron Gordon's in town, and he'll be the guy we talk about next. But before we do that, we're going to head back over to RotoWire. We're going to click the little rebound button. It takes us right to where we want to be. We'll filter, or sort rather, by the Denver Nuggets team. And you can see on the 7.5 rebounds, people are taking the under on DraftKings Sportsbook. On FanDuel, at 7.5 rebounds, people are taking the under there as well. Now finally, BetMGM, people are taking the under. And the last site that we're going to look at, PointsBet, they've got him at 7.5, and at 7.5, people are hammering the under there as well. So it's looking like 7 rebounds or less is in the future for Michael Porter Jr. So my initial hunch was take the over, but after my quick research here and looking into things, his rebounds are trending in the wrong direction. Everyone, I think, is catching on that Aaron Gordon is now in town. And there's a chance that Aaron Gordon eats into some of these rebounds for Michael Porter Jr. tonight. So I'm going to change my answer from going over on Michael Porter Jr. rebounds. Final answer is probably going to be leaning toward the under. So there you have it. Now, I've already hinted at Aaron Gordon. He's going to be the next guy we talk about, and we're talking rebounds for him as well. He is projected tonight at 5.5 boards. I, again, am liking the over here. Now, I know it didn't work out for Michael Porter Jr. I ended up switching and flip-flopping to the under based on what I saw, but we're going to look at Aaron Gordon here. Now, this is definitely a tricky situation. Anytime you add a guy of Aaron Gordon's caliber to a already well-established team like the Denver Nuggets, you pull Gary Harris out of the team, you pull RJ Hampton out of the team, you insert Aaron Gordon into the starting lineup, things are going to be a little chaotic for a few games until everything settles and everybody figures out what their role is and stuff. So listen, anything can happen is what I'm trying to tell you. So Aaron Gordon at 5.5 rebounds, he's the next guy we're going to dig into on the stats here. So we type in his name. We're not looking Gordon Hayward. We're looking for Aaron Gordon. There you go. 5.5 boards. They got him projected to go for 6. 6 would be a thing of beauty. If we're taking the over on AG, that means that he's going to hit for us. So now that we know what his projection is, thanks to our friends over at NumberFire, we can type Aaron Gordon's name into NBA.com and do a little research here on Aaron Gordon. And there you can see, I mean, that looks like an old picture, but he's in the new jersey. So props to them. They got him in the right jersey now. On the season, of course, much of these games here were for the Orlando Magic. He is no longer with them, obviously. He rebounds the ball at 6.5 rebounds per game. Okay, so that's a pretty good number, but this is a whole new dynamic, a whole new nucleus here in Denver. So things could be a bit volatile. Let's click on his other averages and take a look at 15, 10, and 5 games and see how he's done. So in his last 15 games, again, these are pretty much all with the Orlando Magic. He's rebounded the ball at just 4.4 rebounds per game, which puts him well under 5.5. Let's change this to 10 games because he has missed some time. He was injured. He was banged up for a little bit with an ankle injury for the Magic. Only played a few games before getting traded. You could see that in his last 10 games, it's still at 4.4. So now let's look at his last 5. We should have better numbers for that. And his rebounds do spike up just a little bit, 4.5 there, but still that puts him under the 5.5. Now, let's look at his last game, because I know that one was with the Nuggets. What did he do there? Well, in his last game, he played 20 minutes and pulled in just 2 rebounds. Oof. I don't know. This might be a fade for me. This might not be an over and under. This might be I'm going to walk over here. You guys deal with Aaron Gordon in these rebounds. It's looking a little dicey. Not going to lie. Not going to lie. All right. The last thing we got to do is look at rebounds here on rotowire.com. Now, they got them set up at 5.5 boards on DraftKings Sportsbook. And on that 5.5, people are clicking the over. On FanDuel, people are clicking the over. BetMGM, the over is the way to go. And finally, PointsBet, overwhelmingly, minus 150. People are hammering the over on 5.5 rebounds. Guys, I'm going to put it to you like this, and I've already hinted at it, alluded to it earlier. This is a bit of a shaky situation. It's a volatile spot here for Aaron Gordon. He's on a new team. He's playing with very good teammates now. Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic. You got Barton there. You got Michael Porter Jr. there. Who knows what's going to happen? If you want to roll the dice, though, and you want to trail everybody over here on Vegas, everybody seems to be clicking the over on Aaron Gordon. So there you have it. Now, we got the rebounds out of the way. I've only got one 3-point prop to talk about, but better one than none, if I do say so myself. So let's click on the 3-pointers, and we're going to talk Devonte Graham. Yes, Charlotte Hornets. We're finally not talking about the Denver Nuggets. I mean, we've mentioned Jokic, Jamal Murray, Will Barton, Michael Porter Jr., and Aaron Gordon. That's 5 Denver Nuggets. That's actually their whole starting lineup. Well, that's because PrizePicks doesn't have a lot of these single prop picks up yet. So hopefully later on today we get more picks. But so far so good with Devonte Graham at 3.5 3-pointers made. I'm leaning toward the under. I know he lit it up the other day against the Phoenix Suns, but man, he shares the court with Gordon Hayward, with Terry Rozier. Not LaMelo Ball, unfortunately. He's hurt, but yeah, I think that the under might be the way to go on Devonte Graham. Let's go take a look at NBA.com. Unfortunately, NumberFire does not provide any type of 3-point stats, but we're going to see if we can put together a decent little string of reporting, we'll call it here, for Devonte Graham in this 3-point prop. All right, so we got to dig in because it doesn't give us anything on this front page here. So we're going to click his traditional splits, advanced filters, game segment. Well, we'll leave it at full season first. So on the season, he is attempting 8 3-pointers per game, 8 3-points attempted per game. Now on those 8 attempts, he is making 3.1 per game, which is less than 3.5. That means most of the time, if you're looking at 3 3-pointers or 4 3-pointers, he's leaning more toward the 3 3-pointers than he is on the 4. So we need him to stay around 3 if we're going to take the under on 3.5. So I'm liking the way things are shaping up. Now we're going to switch this from his full season to just the last 15 games. And you can see in his last 15 games, he's attempting slightly under 8 3-pointers a game, but he is hitting 3.7 of them, meaning more often than not, he's been hitting 4 threes and less than 3 threes. So this is not looking good. No way to sugarcoat it. No way to butter it up and put lipstick on a pig. That's not a good one. Let's see what changes here from 15 games down to 10 games. So in his 10 games, he's attempting 7.9 and making 3.7. That's still more than 3.5. Something's going to have to change here. It's going to have to go down to make me feel more confident. Now, 9.2 attempts, and he's making 4.4. Oh my God, it actually went up. It went in the wrong direction. We were wanting it to go down. It actually went up from his last 5 games. Yikes. Well, I was feeling pretty good going into this video about the under on Devonte Graham and these 3-pointers, but man, this might be another one where I got to flip-flop here and got to go the other way. But before I make any final decisions, we can go to RotoWire. We can search here for Devonte Graham. All right, and they got him up at 3.5 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Not really seeing a strong push for the over or the under or anything like that, so they're split there. On FanDuel, people are taking the over actually on 3.5 3-pointers made, not attempted, but made. You got to make them. BetMGM, he's at 3.5 there, slight under actually, so that goes against what we're seeing on FanDuel. And then last but not least, PointsBet, they are split. Not really seeing any juice over or under on Devonte Graham and 3.5 3-pointers made. So 2 sites are torn and 2 sites are at a gridlock. So I'm kind of torn too. And when I'm kind of torn and I'm not really seeing a clear, clean path or edge for me here, well, I just walk away and go find another pick. And hopefully there will be better picks for this 3-point single stat prop, because I really like playing the 3-point single stat prop. We actually had some good success last night. I had James Harden going over. He went over. Jason Tatum went over. And there was one other guy. Karl Anthony Towns. He went over as well. We ended up going 3 for 4. The only one that didn't hit was Kristaps Porzingis, who had 2 early ones and then just fell off the face of the earth for the rest of the game. Couldn't buy another bucket. But that's going to do it for today's video. Hopefully some of these picks have brought you value. Hopefully you can lock them in or do additional research before you make these picks. I think we've landed on some pretty good ones. We've found some situations where we could go over, some where we could go under, and some where it's just better to walk away and don't touch it. So again, good luck tonight. My name's CJ. This is Out of Bounds DFS. I hope you guys win some money on PrizePicks or whatever sports betting site you like to play on. MLB's coming soon. Be on the lookout for that. But until then, I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Peace out.